Good evening. Welcome to the session, everyone. Today, we will be having a session on Git and GitHub by Matthew Vicariath, who is the current web admin at RoboSet. So, bring out the enthusiasm and curiosity to make the most out of this workshop. If you have any queries during the session, you can drop it in the chat box. Hope you have a great learning experience. Off to you, Matthew, sir.
Hi, good evening all. My name is Matthew and I'm a second year computer science student at College of Engineering, Toronto. And don't call me sir, I'm also a student. So anyways, thank you Malavika for introducing me to the crowd. So as Malavika said, if you have any, I hope I am visible and audible. Is that, am I audible everyone? Okay, thank you Anuj. Okay, so talking about today's session, Git and GitHub. Git is one of the most important tool a person, especially a developer, must know because every code that he does will be saved in a GitHub repository, as you all might know. I've sent you a video that deals with creating a new account on GitHub and creating a first repository as well. I hope everyone is comfortable with English, or should I switch to Malayalam? I'm fine with that. English, okay, fine. Okay, I'd like to ask you how many of you in this session are computer science student at various colleges? Can you please raise your hands? There is a raise your hands option. Oh, okay, I see good number of students who are computer science. Okay, cool. Hands down, please. So let's get started with the session. In this session, I'll be starting with what is version control. Even before you get introduced to Git and GitHub, the first thing you need to know is what a version control is. I'll be presenting my screen. Okay, my screen is visible, right? Everyone. Hello. Can anyone please say if my screen is visible?
Yeah, screen is visible.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So let's get started. So the first thing that you need to know, even before you get started into Git and GitHub, is version control. And what is version control? Version control is basically a computer system. It's a system that allows you to track the changes that you've made over files different times. That is, suppose you and your friend are working on a project. Say, consider it a website. Maybe you're trying to make a website using HTML, and you have two pages in which one of the page A will be done by your friend, and you will do page B, and you're working on it. You're doing coding and stuff on your website, and finally you have to put it somewhere. That is, you have to show the public that I've done such a thing. So you're putting it somewhere, but then you need to know that you have made so and so changes so and so times. That is, your friend also needs to know that you've made changes. That is, suppose you have added a comment or some extra tags or new lines to the file. Your friend needs to know that you've made changes, and he also needs to know what time you've made those changes. So in a very simple in a very simple way, version control is basically a system that tracks all the changes that you make on a file, and each time it allows you to save different versions of a file, and also you can switch between versions. Suppose you have made an edited version, and after looking into that, you feel that this is not good, the earlier one was better, so you need to change from the present version to the earlier version. in that case also version control helps you. Okay, now there are many version control systems, but why is Git one of the most importantly used version control system? Okay, so far, does anyone have any doubt? If you have any doubts, please raise your hands and feel free to ask them. You can drop your doubts on the chat as well. Okay, I believe no one has any doubts. So why Git? There are various version control systems, but why is Git and GitHub used as one of the most is the most popular version control system? The few of the reasons are it is a distributed version control system. Unlike the centralized version control system, in which there is a central computer that keeps track of all the changes that you have made. So in that situation, what happens is that suppose the central computer fails, what will happen? All the records, all the data that has been stored about the progress of the project is lost. So that is why Git is used. It's a distributed version control system. Then speed and performance. Git has always been known for his speed and performance. Branching and merging, they are two terms that uh, will be explained in the later slides. Then rich set of tools and ecosystems. Talking about some of the most famous tools in the present days is GitHub Copilot, which is named AI-powered uh, GitHub tool. Then, of course, it's GUI. I hope that everyone has created an account and you have gone through the UI of the GitHub. It is really impressive and it's really good. Okay, so some terms related to Git and GitHub. So these are few terms that you need to know when you uh, when you are using it. So the first one is repository. Repository is basically like a file or basically like a folder on your local machine. So suppose you're working on a project, say uh, working on a machine learning project, and you are storing it in a folder on your computer. The same folder, when you put it on GitHub, it is called as a repository. Okay, so uh, I have already. Okay, can you all see this screen of mine? See, you see, this is my GitHub repository. Okay, yeah, this is my GitHub repository, and this is my GitHub profile, and this is my first repository that I have created. Hope you can see. So this is what a repository, basic outline of a repository looks like. Every repository has a README file, which is basically telling about what the project is, what does the project do, what are the different dependencies that a project need, and all those things. I'll come to this later. So this is basically a repository. It's something like a folder where you store all your files in that project. Okay, is that clear? Any doubts? Does anyone have any doubts so far? Shall I continue? Okay, thank you, Pranav. Then the next one is clone. So what does a clone mean in real life? Clone means you're making a copy of something. Similarly, in GitHub, when you make a copy of the repository, that is in real life computer, you do Control C and Control U. What are you doing? You're actually making a copy of a file or a folder somewhere in your local machine. Similarly, in GitHub, when you copy someone else's repository, this is called as cloning. And cloning is basically done on your local machine and not on the GitHub on the internet. What is commit? Commit basically means suppose you're making changes to your file, to a file called a text file, maybe uh, on your GitHub repository. There is a text file called sample.txt. You're making a change onto that, and you are telling the GitHub, you're telling GitHub that, okay, I have made certain changes, and now I'm ready to commit those changes into this. That is, I'm like you save a document or a text file, you're saving it. That is, you're saving it to GitHub. Okay, I'll show you a sample of how you commit on a GitHub repository. Okay, it would have been good if all of you can make a repository on GitHub and do it with me at the same time, so that you can get a hands-on experience as well. Can you all take your GitHub repositories if you're on your laptops or desktops, please? And can you, if all of you are ready, can you please give me a hand raise as well? Okay. Yeah, I need more people. Yes, cool, cool, cool. Okay, and I'll ask someone of you to present your screen as well as if after you've committed your changes. Okay, cool. I need more hands. I see 66 participants and I only see very few hands raised. Okay. Okay, yeah. Then I'll show how to commit. Uh, okay, I hope you can see my screen. And this is a repository that I've created, the first repo. Okay, now I am taking this edit button. This is my README file. As I've mentioned earlier, README is basically a file that tells you what your project is, what your project is doing, the dependencies and things like that. It's like an introduction to your project. And everyone who visits your repo on GitHub, the first thing that they will look, that their eyes will go to is the README file. Okay, and I am going to make changes to this. That is, these are the contents of my GitHub repo right now. This is my contents of my README file right now. Now what I'm going to do is add a line. I okay. Now I've added a line like this. In my earlier version, this was not there, and now I have made changes. That is, I have added an extra line like this. Now, if I click on this button, that is commit changes, what it basically does, it saves the change that I have made to the to my repo. Okay, so I do commit changes. Now, in every commit that you do in GitHub, you need to add a meaningful message to it. That is, when you are reading you're going through a GitHub repository in a very later stage, you need to know what you have done. So, in order to understand what changes that you have made, you need to give a proper commit message. This is the default commit message that GitHub provides. So, I'm writing a meaningful message like added an extra comment. Okay. Now I'm okay. Just ask me where I should commit this to. Okay, you can commit to the main branch or other branches. I'll explain what a branch is in the earlier parts of this session. Okay, now I'm doing commit changes. Okay, see, it has been reflected on my repo, on my README file. Okay, hope everyone has done this. Can you all raise your hands who all have done this? Okay, okay, I see many hands. Is anyone ready to present your screen? That is, show me your commit message, or you can drop your GitHub repo link as well on the chat box. Okay, that would be good if you can drop your link to the GitHub repo. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, no one. Is there anyone ready? You can unmute your mic and tell if you're ready to present your screen. Okay, Achala, are you ready to present your screen? Is it okay? Hello. Okay, never mind. We'll go to the next slides. Okay, so we've seen the term clone. Now, what is commit? Commit also we've seen. Now, branch. Branch is a very important term when it comes to Git and especially version control systems. In simple terms, you all know the branch of a tree. So each branch has a different function. Okay, okay, Pranav, yeah. Just let me, okay, I looked to your, okay, Pranav has shared this. Oh, hi, Pranav. Hi, my name is Pranav. Okay, Pranav, cool, cool, cool. That looks, you've understood what you've done. Okay, that's cool. Okay, now let me tell you what a branch is. So consider the branches of a tree. Each branch, okay, take an ideal situation where each branch has a specific function. Suppose in terms of programming and making a software or a web, the first branch, what it does is it fixes errors. The second branch, it takes care of the UI. The third branch may be the database and things like that. So different branches have different functions. So each branch does their functions independently, and they merge to a main branch. And main branch is in Git is called as the master branch. That it is the head in the hierarchy. Okay. Now, what is a pull request? I will show the demo of a pull request uh, in the coming slides. Fork is basically creating a copy of of my repository or someone else's repository on my personal repository. Suppose there are two people working, that is A and B. They're doing a project. A has created a repository on Git, and B needs to make a copy of that or needs that repository in A's GitHub profile to be on his profile. So what he does is his fork. I'll show you an example, or it would be good if you guys can do. I will share. Okay, this is I will share. Okay, you see this option called fork, right? Right now I can't fork because I am the person who's using this repository, so I can't fork. And what you guys need to do is I'll send you the link in the chat box. Can you all fork this repository so that you can know what happens? Can you all try that, please? Just click on the option called fork. This one. Just click on my repository, then click on this option called fork. You can see what happens. Yeah, I see two forks out here. Just, yeah, just two people. No, I need more people to do that. Then only you will get. See, Git is not something that you can learn theoretically. It's not just theory. You need to practice it. Then only you can uh, better your skills in on Git and GitHub. So I need all of you to do this. Like all of you who are using your desktops and laptops. Oh my God, just 7 people. There are 68 people in the meeting and just 7 people. Come on. Okay. Come on, I need more people. Yes, more of you, please. Pork. See, if you guys have any doubt, please put it in on the chat box, or you can unmute your mics or raise your hands, whatever it is. I am ready to explain it to you any number of times. So please utilize this. Actually, Anvesha, I was looking on how to do that, but unfortunately, I can't see who has forked my repository. Uh, if anyone of you can, if anyone of you knows how to do that, please tell me because I couldn't find where. Okay, now I can't find that. Okay, since okay, I've seen 12 of you had has made a fork. Can any one of you commit a change to this? Any one of you? You can edit my README or edit the the one that we have done earlier, the commit changes. Can any one of you do that? And if you've done that, raise your hands. The first person who does that, I'll call you and I'll ask you to do something interesting. So can you do that, please? Someone? And if you've done that, please raise your hands as well. Yeah. Have you done that? Someone? Okay, if you have committed the changes, please do raise your hands. Anyone? Okay, I see no hands up. So we've uh, I see no hands up. Anyone ready to? Okay. So never mind. We'll continue with this session. Okay. So what is a branch? I've told the term branch earlier. The master branch is the main branch that is considered as the stem of the trunk of a tree, and all the branches uh, who do different functions, and finally you have to merge it. That is when a person approaches a tree or a project, what you need is a final product. So you need to merge all those changes into a single repository or into a single branch. And that is where the concept of branch comes in. Okay. Now, as I've told earlier, you also need to suppose you and your friends are working on a website, you're designing a website. So the first thing that you will do is create the GitHub repository. So we've created a GitHub repository. The next thing that you will do, you will assign tasks to different people. That is, A will have to make page A, B will have to make page B, C will have to make page D, and so on and so forth. And finally, you will need to present it to someone. So everyone has to do changes to their code, and finally uh, they'll have to commit the changes. But while committing the changes, you need to know that those changes will be available only in their own repositories and not on the main repository. So in order to uh, make the changes visible on the main repository, you need to open pull request. So what in doing pull request is basically telling the main person who has created the repository that, okay, I have made so and so changes on so and so time, and I need to put those things onto your repository, that is onto the main repository that you will be showing to the people. So you're telling him that, and you are raising a request. The person who's on the other side receives the request, and he goes through the request. That is, he will know what time you have made changes, what kind of changes you have made, and finally he can accept the request or deny the request. That is, either he can merge the request or deny the request. Okay, so in order to show that, I need someone to help me out in this. Can anyone of you who is ready, can you please raise your hands? It's a very simple task, not a Herculean task, or not it's not rocket science, please. So, okay, Marshall. Okay, Marshall, can you please unmute your mic, and it would be good if you can switch on your video.
Hello.
Hello, Marshall.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Appam, are you ready to help me out with this?
Yes.
Okay, Marshall, you have made a fork in my repository, right? You've created a fork of my repository.
No, no, no. I actually joined late.
Okay, you
So,
joined late. Okay, okay, Marshall, that's fine. That's fine. Can you see my GitHub repo link on the chat box? In the chat box?
no, no, no.
Okay, I'll put it once again. Okay, what about now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you can take that, then that will open to GitHub repo. You have already created a GitHub account, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, now you can see an option called fork on top of it, the top right corner. Not the top right corner,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
on the
yeah.
top right. Okay, you see an option called fork, right?
Yeah, create a
Just
new phone.
okay, just click on fork,
Yeah.
and you see a pencil button on next to that, next on the where it is written my fork. You see my screen, right? Here,
Uh,
there is a pencil button here.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, just click on that.
Wait, wait. One minute.
Okay, yeah, sure, take your time. Okay,
I need to create a fork.
okay, did you create a fork, or should I help you with that?
Yeah, creating fork. Forking in myself.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You've created a fork. Now you see,
Edit,
uh,
edit. Rate me, edit.
yeah, edit the README file. You can put any random comment on it or anything on it, any text on it.
Okay, wait. Yeah, I heard it. Commit
Okay.
changes.
Yeah, okay. You can commit your changes.
Have I committed the changes?
Okay, Marshall, would it be okay if you can present your screen to everyone so that everyone can see what you've done? I'll stop my screen sharing. Is that okay, Marshall?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, Marshall. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, what you've done is just go to your repository. That is, just click on your repository of my first fork.
I didn't got you what to do.
Okay. Okay. Just go to the GitHub. Okay. You see, just click on my first fork.
Here?
Yes. Yes. Go to the root of the. Okay. Now you see this change is only there on your GitHub profile. Try
Oh,
going into my GitHub profile, to my GitHub repo, where I have asked you to fork the changes. The you see something called fork from NY Victors, right?
yeah.
Just click on that.
I know.
No. You're not. Don't fork it. Just click on your top left of the screen.
This?
No, the one below that. The link below that. Yeah, exactly that one. Okay, you see no changes on my repo, right?
Yeah.
But consider a situation where we are working on the same project and you need to see the same change that you have made on my repo. So that is where the concept of pull request comes, and that is very important. And all of you need to really pay attention to what is happening, and you are going to do this an n number of times when you're building a project. Okay, okay, Marshall, go back to your GitHub repo of my fork. Just go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you see an option called pull request, right?
Yeah.
pull request. Okay, just click on that.
New pull request.
Okay, now create a new pull request. Okay, see what you actually see in this screen of Marshall is, okay, what do you see, Marshall? Can you please try to explain what you see on this?
I can create a pull request. That
Okay,
means uh, that I have changed the readme.md file.
exactly.
So it will be reflected on your repository. It will be updated
Exactly.
on your.
Okay, exactly. This is what you actually need to know. Anyone, does anyone have any doubt till this much? You can feel free to ask me. I'm sorry, Marshall. Can you please wait for some more time?
Okay.
Okay. If you have any doubts, please raise your hands or drop it on the chat box. Anyone with any doubts, please feel free to interrupt and ask your doubts. Okay, I see no doubts. Okay, Marshall. Then we'll go on with that. So what Marshall is basically going to do right now is he's creating a pull request. I told you earlier, right? That is, you're telling me that I have made so and so changes. So Marshall is telling me I have updated the README file with so and so changes, and I'm requesting you to make these changes be reflected on my repository. So Marshall, click on the option called pull request, create pull request. Okay, now add, before creating the pull request, add a sensible or some kind of good comment of what you have done on this. Okay, I have updated. Okay, cool. Anyone who's in the crowd also can try them on their repository. You can fork my repository, make changes to it, and commit to this and do the same thing. Then only you will get a hands-on experience on what you're doing, what you're learning. So, Marshall, have you done that? Have you created a pull request?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
fine. Now you've seen that. Okay, now you've seen that there is one pull request. Okay, now I will share my screen and show you how it will be shown on mine. Okay. Okay, can all of you see my screen? Hello. Yeah, can all of you see my screen? Okay, fine. Okay, thank you, Arnema. So this is the repo that I have made Marshall to fork. He's made changes, he has committed the changes, and he has opened a pull request. Now, right here, you're seeing a pull request, right? You're seeing 3 pull requests because 3 other people have made pull requests. That is a very good attempt. So now let me look who has made changes. Okay, Marshall Matthew has made changes. Anvesh has made changes, and Parvati has made changes. These are the 3 people who have made changes. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am looking into what Marshall has done. So here I see he's added the comment. I have updated the README file. Please check it soon. Very sensible comment. Now uh, I have seen requesting approval from specific reviewers before merging. These are different things. Okay. Now what I have to do in order to make this change be visible on my repository is I'm merging. So earlier what it was like, I'll show you. Okay. Okay, I'm merging the pull request for now, and I will explain to you what has actually happened. Okay, now I am uh, giving the option called confirm merge. Okay, now it's merging. Okay, and now on my GitHub repo in the README file, you can see the changes that Marshall has done. Okay, is that clear to you, everyone? And once again, thank you, Marshall, for helping me out. Uh, Marshall, there in the meeting. Okay, Marshall. Thank you so much for helping me out once again. Okay, I'll go on with all the other these things as well. Now, many of them. Okay, Parvati, yes, I'll try merging your pull request. So this is something that you might see when you're doing a project. What this basically means that the branch has conflicts. So in order to resolve the conflicts, you can click the resolve conflicts, and this will say what are the conflicts. So what Parvati did was this comment line, that is my first Git session. And what Marshall has done is this one. So they are conflicting. That is it compares to my first version of the GitHub repo and assess whether there are any changes between two. In that case, it does not allow you to merge the request. So that is a very important feature that GitHub provides compared to some of the uh, other version control systems. So in that case, what I do, see, this is the conflict. So does everyone understand that? Okay, can you, Parvati, please confirm whether this is the change that she has made? My first Git session, was that the extra line or comment that you've added? Can you please confirm, Parvati?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the problem when it comes that has happened in this case. So did everyone understand this thing called issue, that is there is an issue in the pull request, that is there is a conflict in the pull request? Anyone who has understood that, please raise your hands, please feel to ask me. Anyone, any doubts? Okay, Pranav, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, I just see very few names in the chat box. Pranav, Marshall, Kushi. Where are all the others? I need you to uh, ask doubts. Okay, I believe no one has any doubts. So this is something that happens when you try to uh, merge. Okay. Now let me explain to you what has actually happened when I and Marshall tried to work. So master branch was actually the main branch, the main repo that I had created. And Marshall's repository is the one that is depicted by the blue circles. Marshall has forked my repository. Is what this is where the forking happens. Marshall has made few changes to my repository. I have made changes to my repository. Then the third person who's in our team, me, Marshall, and someone else, say suppose it's Pranav, and he also have made some changes. Finally, what I have to do, the person who is the or the owner of the main repository has to do, I have to merge all these changes together and make it into a final product. So in that case, GitHub helps us. What it does is that it takes the changed version from Marshall's work, from Pranav's work, that is yellow, the orange person's work, the blue person's work, and then it merges to the main repository. And this is what exactly happened when I merged the pull request that Marshall has put in. Okay, so Git, it's so there are a few things that you need to know before using Git. README generator. README is a very important part of your uh, GitHub repository because it gives the other person a basic understanding of what your project is about. So I have a very good resource that will help you to create READMEs. And mind you, creating READMEs, if you are interested in web development and you do web development, it is kind of easy. It is Okay, but if you're not a person who's really into web development, or you don't do programming or do that kind of stuff, there is a very good website that will help you to create wonderful readmes, and I will provide the link to them. Okay, this is something called readme.so, and okay, so this is what the readme file will look like, and this is the place where you edit your code, or basically the code editor. Now, I in my project, I need to add, say, an acknowledgement, that is, see, so you need to add acknowledgements. You just have to click on this. Then API reference, you just have to click on this. You have to make changes. Suppose your API key, and I replace it with something like my API key. Suppose you're doing a project on, say, OpenAI, which is the most hottest technology in today's world, technology's world. So I'm replacing it some random key like SK123 ABC map key. And see, you see the changes in this. Anything you can do it like that. There are many options. Suppose you're making your GitHub, you're building your GitHub profile, and you are telling that you have certain skills. So this is a section that you can add. Then various other things you can try them when you have your time. So I don't think I need to give much explanation on that, because all of you are really talented people. So you can explore this. This is a very good website that all of you can look into. Now, coming coming back to our presentation, the next one is the official documentation of GitHub. GitHub wonderful has wonderfully documented its things. That is, it provides a very detailed explanation of what Git is, what GitHub is, what various commands of Git and GitHub are. Okay, I think we can go to this as well. So this is the link to the GitHub documentation. I'll be putting it on the chat box. You can go through this. There are many. This tells you how to fork repo. You can go through this. This is very good for beginners. I learned Git and GitHub through this, to be honest. Then the Git community is basically a place where you can interact with other developers, similarly like you. So you can be a part of discussions and things like that. It's a very good platform. You can find the link to this on your GitHub profile. Then the GitHub Marketplace, okay, as the name suggests, it's basically a place where you uh, market your product or you showcase your product. So that is about the things, the basics of Git and GitHub. Anyone with any doubts, can you please raise your hands and ask me? I know that you will have many doubts. It is very natural to have many doubts, and I need you to ask that. Is there any concept that you need me to explain once again? Please ask that. These are the very basic things that you need to know when you are a beginner to Git and GitHub. So, any doubts, please ask. Yeah, Kushi, thank you for the question. Could you explain about resolving the conflicts once again? Okay, cool. So, resolving conflicts. Yeah, I think I didn't explain that, right? Okay, cool. Thank you for reminding me. So, can you how to solve conflicts first? It's not necessary. Okay, Sonika, I'll answer your question first. It is necessary in certain situations. Basically, suppose you're working with your friends and on the project. If you are the person who has created the main repository, you know what has to be made. And in case you find a conflict, it is your discretion. It is at your discretion that you tell that either the pull request can be merged by after clearing all the conflicts, after resolving all the conflicts, or you can discard those changes. That is up to you. Okay, Sonika, is that clear? Okay, coming back to Kushi's question, can you all see my screen? Okay, exactly, Achut. Git is mainly used for collaborative work. Okay, let me give you a scenario. Hello, I am audible, right? Okay, so let me give you a scenario. You and one of your friend are is working on a project. Say, suppose it's a machine learning project, and you guys decide that okay, this friend will do such this program and the other one will do this program. So one fine day you're starting the project, and what you do, you are a person with no knowledge of Git and GitHub. So what you guys do, you are creating a Git Google Drive. You're creating a folder and you are adding a friend as the collaborator to it, and you are adding your folders, your files, whatever it is to the this thing, and it is going on very smoothly in the sense very smoothly. So you actually don't need anything like Git or GitHub. You're working on it. But one fine day, what happens is that your friend, who is kind of, what do you say, he's not in good terms with you, and he decides to delete the folder. So in such a situation, what happens? You also lose all the input that you have given into that Google Drive. Is that what will happen? Okay. Do you all agree with me?
Yes.
You all agree with me, right? So you also lose what you have done. So that is where GitHub comes in. So in GitHub, when you are working on a single project with you and your friend who's working on a single project, you do all those things that I've told in the earlier case of Google Drive. So, like, say for example, Marshall and I were working on a machine learning project. Marshall has decided to work with 5 Python programs. I've decided to work with 5 Python programs, and he has created a fork from my repository. He has made changes. I have made changes. Finally, everything is going fine. And one fine day, I'm not in good terms with Marshall, so I have decided, okay, fine. I'm stopping to work with Marshall, and I delete my repository, thinking that Marshall will also lose his what he has done. But in case of GitHub, Marshall doesn't lose anything that he has done. That is, it will always be there in the repository, in the fork of the repository, or rather the copy of the repository that he has made on his GitHub. Okay, is that clear, Achyuta, Pramod?
Yes.
Is that clear, Achyuta, Pramod? So, yes, it's basically used for collaborative works. Okay, any other doubts? Anyone else? Oh yeah, the one that asked me that. So Sonika has asked me. Okay, Sonika, see what I'm going to do is this is the change that I believe Parvati had made, and this is what Marshall has made. Now, what I am going to do is I will now delete was what Marshall has done. See, I'm just deleting what Marshall has done, and I am giving the option mark as resolved. Now this change that she has made will be visible on my repository. Okay, I have committed the changes, and now um, okay, I'm sorry that did not work. Let me just look into that once again to solve conflicts. Okay, guys, let me just look into that. Okay, meanwhile, does anyone has any doubts? You can ask me. Exactly, Pranav. So GitHub is made so that people can't take revenge. Okay, yeah. Okay, Achada, how the storage and data dealing on it? Okay, can you please make your question specific? Like, is it about the storage, whether it is taking from your? Uh, okay, can you please elaborate on your question? Okay, yeah, I get it. So basically, what Git does is it has an efficient storage system. That is, it is not like how the file and folders are stored in your computer. It has very big servers. It has compression. Then there is something called shallow cloning, then sparse checkout, and these are various things. You don't have to go deep into that, and in case you need to know more about it, you can definitely Google search and find about it. I've just limited information about how Git handles its data, is huge volume. Then an important thing that happens is the compression of data. So it is not storing the copy of each file for each commit. It stores between different versions. So in that way, it can actually save a huge amount of data. Then it is very huge servers, then a huge backup as well. Okay, is that clear? Okay, Jia, thank you. Anyone else with doubts? I did like few of the doubts you asked you. I need more from your side. Okay. if I need both Marshall's and Parvati's change need to be saved in the range branch, what do you do? Okay, Hafiz Shamnad. Okay, that's a very good question. So this is a very what Hafiz has pointed out is a very real life scenario that is going to happen when you are working on a project. So in such a case, what you do is, okay, what do you do is first I merge the pull request that Marshall has created. I look into that. I check all those things that Marshall has done. Then I merge the pull request. Now Parvati has made pull request, and then I merge Parvati's pull request. So that is a scenario that actually occurred in the scenario that occurred in the previous case is that it was conflicting. That is, the change made by Parvati and Marshall were conflicting. That is why we saw the conflict message appearing on my GitHub repo when I was trying to merge those pull requests. So in such a case, what you need to do is that you need to uh, you need to handle those conflicts. Is that uh, is that clear to you, Hafiz? Okay, thank you. Okay, Anvesha Dixit, is there any role of Git Bash? Yes, Git Bash is a very important software or a tool that you will use when you are basically uh, doing some project on your local machine and you have to put it on your GitHub profile. So what that all those things that we have seen so far, you are changing the data, you're editing everything online. That is, you're going to your GitHub repo and you're making changes to it. Suppose take the scenario in which you are okay. Take the scenario in which I hope my screen is visible once again. Okay. Uh, Take the scenario where you're working on a project on your computer and you need to put those folders or files into a GitHub repo that is on the internet. It is something on the internet, and your files and folders are on the uh, local machine. So in that case, what you do is something called git clone. What git clone does is that you have a repository called my4 called show you right say it's your repository called repository A, and you need to make that available on your local machine. So what do you do? What you do is something called git clone, and git bash is uh, something that you can do. It's a software or basically a terminal or something like that. Its UI looks very similar to a command line, and you can do it using that. So in order to do that, what you basically do is you go to your GitHub profile, and suppose this is my first repo is something that you need to clone. You just have to take the link to this GitHub repo. Then you have commands in git bash, which is called add clone. You do that. The I believe the program organizers will give you a cheat sheet of how to use Git and Git Bash. I will also be giving you a recorded video of how to use Git Bash. Okay, so first of all, let me tell you one thing. That is, you can either use Git Bash to the Git Bash the terminal to play around with your local machine and your GitHub repo on the internet, or the second option is using the VS Code. There is an extension on VS Code which is really, really, really simplified and which will help you to make changes from your local machine. It is very easy, and I will send you the video recording. I'll send it to the organizers, and uh, they will give it to you through. They'll communicate that with you. I will definitely do that. Today I couldn't find time to record those videos, so sorry for that. But definitely, using VS Code is a very simple. Is very simple in the sense very simple. Any small child can understand what to do. So I'll be sharing that video. So that is the role of Git Bash. Git Bash is basically a bit complicated when it comes to doing the things from your local machine to the internet, but uh, Git Bash is also a very good method. But I always make changes from my local machine to the GitHub repo on the internet using VS Code extensions. Okay, resolved code conflicts. Okay, okay, Pranav. So you understand what code conflicts are, right? Did you understand that? Okay. So in can you see my screen, guys? No. Hello.
Yeah, the screen is visible.
Okay, കാണാലോ അല്ലേ? Everyone can see that, right? Chendo, I can't. Just a second. Let me just check my internet connection, please. Okay, yeah, I'm back. So as you've seen earlier, there has been a conflict that was made when Parvati and Marshall had made changes to the repository, to my repository, my first some repository, random repository name. So that is something that had happened. So what you basically have to do, suppose I am the, so okay, in this situation I am the owner of the GitHub repository. So what I need to do is that I need to decide that is whose changes I have to make in my repository. So that is my decision. So I will resolve the conflict. I will take either Marshall's changes or Parvati's changes. So according to that, I will allow only one of their changes to be reflected on my GitHub repo. Is that clear to Pranav? Okay, Kushi. Why does code conflict occur? Okay, so, just a second. Just a second. You can't mm, take both the changes because okay. Let me give you an example. Suppose you have a place where you can write only one name. So in this situation also, what happens is you can only write one name. Okay, just assume that you can only write one name. Marshall has written his name. Okay, Marshall, whatever, Marshall P. Matthew. Now, over that, Parvati also. Okay, can you? Okay, can I take half of one? No, 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 no. I don't think that is possible. Sharon K. Lakshman. I don't think that is possible. Okay, now, okay, what? Where will be? Okay, so there is a place to write your name. Marshall has wrote his name. Now Parvati has written her name. So this is when the situation where the conflict occurs. Now I have decided, okay, I will keep my I will keep Marshall's name out and I will erase Parvati's name. So while I am the person who is resolving the conflict, who is merging the pull request, I will delete what Parvati has done to my repo, what changes that she has done to my repo. I will just delete that and I will uh, make Marshall's name visible on that. Is that clarified, Anvesha? Okay. Actually, my data is going to over now. Okay, Vivek, do you mean that your data is going away? That is, your data is completely being deleted? Are you trying to ask me like that? Okay, if that is the question, no, that doesn't happen because changes that you have made onto your repository that you have forked from my repository. That is, you have made a copy of my repository into your GitHub profile, so it will still be there on your profile. Yeah. Now I think his internet is going to finish. 90% of the data is Kushirai. I think that has been clarified. Why does code conflict occur? Uh, does anyone have the same doubt? Okay, if anyone has the same doubt, I am ready to explain. But I think I have explained it twice. Okay, cool, cool. I think many people are having. Okay, fine. I will explain that once again. Okay, so just erase all those things that I've told. I have a repository. It's called repository A, and Marshall, me, and Tech Pranav are working on that project. Marshall has made changes to the README file. That is, he has written, "Hi, this is Marshall," and Pranav also has written, "Hi, this is Pranav." And what Pranav does is that he is opening a pull request. That is, he is telling me that I have made so and so changes, and would you allow me to make those changes to your repository? Okay, fine. I make changes to the repository, to my repository. Okay, now Marshall also does the same thing. So in such a case, you see both different, because of different config changes made by different people into a particle form. Exactly. Exactly. What Sonika had said is right, has said is right. That is what exactly happens. So it's basically like, what do you say? I can't give you a real life example. I'm confused about a real life example. So this is what happens when two of you, that is Marshall and Pranav, are trying to access the same line of code or the same line. There is a conflict between them. So either this or this. But Git doesn't have the ability to choose which one should be there on the final repository. It is me, who's the admin or the author of the repository, who have to choose which of this, either Marshall or Pranab. Only one of them, the changes that they have made will be visible on my GitHub repo. So that is called the conflict. That is, both of those contrasting things that has happened is called a conflict. And then I resolve the conflict. I choose which one of them I will take. Okay, is that clarified, Kushi Raj and the other one who's raised his hands? Okay, cool. So if a line has two outcomes and admin has the power to choose, if the line has two outcomes in the sense, are you okay? Never mind. I'll give you another example. I'll just explain it to you by a demo, and I'll show that. Sorry, I couldn't find a very good example on the internet, any good images, so just leave that. Okay, what Pranav has said is somewhat right. That is, so if line has two outcomes, suppose line, this is the line, and it has two outcomes, I can choose as the admin which one should be there on my repository. Exactly. Anyone else? Any doubts? So that is what is called resolving conflicts. I can also include a video of how to resolve conflicts in a proper way. At the moment, I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Anyways, if you guys want it, I can include a video of how to resolve conflicts as well.
Thank you, Matthew, for taking this session. It was indeed a useful one. Thank you all for attending the session.